1. It didn't start like this. It started after Jess left and the artist, her friend, was here. We came home to find someone we didn't know smoking in the garden. Practically everyone seemed to smoke roll-ups of one sort or another, but these were real, long cigarettes, which made me want to wave away their clouds. He was tall, well-built, his hair down to the collar in a tidy sweep of rock-star silver. He was Slovakian, his English good, but if one spoke too fast or in too complicated a manner, one would have to stop to explain more carefully or more fully. He was someone whom the artist knew, and while we much preferred to try and find new housemates by ourselves, friends bringing in their friends had worked well in the recent past. For some reason, once we had met and been introduced, and he seemed both nice enough and in need, it felt churlish not to let him have the room. 2. And it wasn't always like this. Far from it. Oddly vulnerable and with many sweet-natured traits, as big people whom other people might instinctively be wary of often are, we've found. I remember his Christmas presents. A beautiful red ceramic lantern with stars cut into it, sadly broken long ago. Tiny sparklers in the shape of stars in an envelope. How thoughtful! The Christmas I bought crackers which each had a whistle in a different key, and he tried to direct us all to make an actual tune. You can tell I'm a drummer, he joked. He worked for some time as the drummer in a cover band, doing classic hits for parties and events. The time he helped with the marquee which we had to take down at a community festival in a city park. His father had died of lung cancer. He loved his mother and missed her, and occasionally cooked her recipes, sometimes cooked beetroot fritters which he would share. Once, out of the blue, he presented me with an amazing summer drink of grated carrots, sugar, lemon juice, water and blackcurrant, which was wonderful and nothing like anything I'd had before. I needed a spoon to eat the bottom of it. 3. How did we all get here? Well, in Eastern Europe he was a toymaker, a fine one, innovative and artistic, making mechanical things, toys, novelties, curios of original design. It was amazing what he could dream up. He once showed us some runes he had made. He gave us a clay whistle and a clay bell with comic faces on leather strings as necklaces. We still have them. They are so charming and clever. But then those selling cheap trinkets made in China, bought for a song and sold for a larger profit, moved into the town markets where he sold his lovely quirky wares. Making a living got harder and harder as customers were too tempted by shiny plastic novelty and low prices, and so his handmade, handcrafted, unique goods with their real materials of wood and metal and clay, fashioned with skill and time, suffered accordingly. It was no longer possible to get by and earn enough to live on. So he set off on his travels to seek for work, and came at last here, to this city. He tried selling his wares at the big local boot sale, but everyone there went only for bargains and often treated him unkindly, offering him £1 or nothing. He got dispirited. It's very easy not to be linked up with the right networks for what you do in a country foreign to your own. But he had music, for a while. Slowly things got harder and harder. He sold his lovely large motorbike and bought a small car, was employed in a number of 0 hours contract jobs, the last one as a delivery driver. It sounded little better than slavery. The hours were gruelingly long and the distances punishing. 4. We considered the share mostly a success for some time, despite you unintentionally bringing down plasterful when walking along the corridor upstairs sometimes, having the heaviest tread of anyone we lived with. He says he remembers how sympathetic you were when his father died. But then, in part as a result of that event, we had to rescue a hunting dog with a bad reputation. It was us, or he was going to be killed, so we had him. At first he was in a cage overnight upstairs in the studio. You liked dogs and fed him meat, but being through the bars of the cage and you not knowing him nor he knowing you, he snarled and growled. Instead, it just made you begin to be afraid of him. At the time, you were getting more and more depressed due to stories in the media. Anti-Polish feeling locally seemed to be emerging, and it widened to a general wave of feeling against Eastern Europeans. So the worse your jobs got, and the more unpleasantness you faced, the more you smoked, and the less you spoke, and your fear of the dog grew. 5. Things came to a head when the hunting dog bit me. I made a wrong move and he bit my hand, drawing blood. And I yelled my head off right outside your door. You came out at once and bathed and bandaged the wound, gentle as a nurse. I thanked you, of course I was grateful. But after that you couldn't believe that we would dream of keeping him. But we did, because we knew he had no other options. I had already looked on the Dogs Trust questionnaire. Do they bite? Are they good with other dogs? And so it went on until the list of crosses meant that we were starting to commit to keeping him. We knew his past and thought the situation more complex than mere mindless savagery. But to you, it was crazy. You almost said, "It's me or that dog." But you had got so moody, so often unapproachable, none of us felt we could even ask you how you were without our heads being bitten off or silenced by then. And one of the things that drove that dog to frenzy was something which we hated by then too, the smoke. For non-smokers it was getting unbearable. And what we could never get you to understand, and why should you, it's no criticism, was that yes, if you went, you would have to find somewhere else to live, and we would wait until you did. But if we sent him away, the chances of him being killed, of being sent to a vet from whom he would never return, were chillingly high. It wasn't at all the same thing in our eyes. Everything then unwound, gathering pace, until 6. I can't wait until he moves out. The air is thick with cigarette smoke. We can no longer have guests staying upstairs until he goes. I'm coughing up gunk. The smoke pours out of the front door when we return, and these last few weeks it has crept into the bedroom and the living room, and now at last the kitchen, where I open all the doors and the door to the garden, and look forward only to him not being here by the end of the week, though I bear him no ill will. We do not know how we will part. No one has argued, no one is to blame, but neither are we feeling like friends right now. Meanwhile, the noise from upstairs is of saws and hammers, as the one time I glimpsed his room. He had adapted it like living in some giant cupboard with dozens of shelves and contraptions, completely crammed with tools, objects, receptacles. I remember hearing the sound of the saw through the ceiling and hoping that it wouldn't come through to the living room. What was happening up there? We'll soon find out. 7. And so the day he was meant to move out turned from Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, and now, although he left in the afternoon, so much of his stuff remains. Raised not in wealth, he never said no, said yes to anything, filled his room like a box in which a slim walkway had to be negotiated from door to bed. Some people never put anything away, leave stuff strewn on the floor. He piled things in stacks and homemade cupboards from floor to ceiling. He has made countless trips to the tip, but still the place is full of junk and reeks even though the window is open. Is that what they mean when they talk of leaving in bad odour? What is up there? How much is left? Will he take it, and when? We asked for it to be gone by next Thursday. Why is it people do this so often, leaving their sense of responsibility to others in so many ways at the end of the first year? Eight. The shadow of the sheer amount of stuff he said yes to, and the gathering stench and thick, heavy air growing worse all the time, becoming hardly bearable the last few months, mean that it doesn't surprise me now that we have had to part, or that, like others, he has written off the carpet. A nice person, a lovely person, but then there, but for the grace of God, go us all. Changed by circumstance, bad luck, poverty, overwork, prejudice, into someone moody, unapproachable, terse, not threatening, not even unfriendly exactly, but not someone you can just say hello to. It was so awful hearing him mutter that we didn't want him to stay because he was, quote, only a stupid foreigner. How it broke my heart. But he refused to listen to me or us. Could never hear the real reason, as I guess it didn't make any sense to him. And added to the sad, grim atmosphere is the physical atmosphere. Air so like soup it makes the leaden, coiling atmosphere. And so imperceptibly, again, now I see how wrong it had all gone, incapable of helping him any more as we were, because now he is gone, I get that sense again of some kind of release from something. 9. He leaves boxes of tools piled up on the bed. The room is dark, the carpet heavily soiled, the sofa in need of a dustpan and brush. What is this? Why? It looks like it really is a mixture of depression and that I cannot leave thing that some have suffered from, because he was busy building barricades up there. 10. He is finally gone. The beautiful curtains are stained, the mirrors smeared, the door needs repainting, the walls are deeply stained with smoke. The sofa, used as a large shelf, is slightly flatter but seems unharmed. But he is gone, and his milk from the fridge is gone. We gave the last of his things a lift in our own vehicle in the end. Otherwise it seemed like a never-ending story was starting to unfold. We part awkwardly, not even shaking hands. I feel so sad and bad about it all ending in this way. And yet a leaden weight has lifted from this house. The air is clearing. We are starting to breathe more freely as the smog disperses. I am so very sorry we could never explain or ask him to lessen his tobacco addiction. It is sad to see the little metal weather vane which he made for his windowsill gone. He leaves us 2 candles to light in memory, and that is all. Bless him. I don't want to recall him as a depressed heavy chain smoker, but as the whimsical and musical toymaker and drummer who he really was.